Hello, Happy New Year, good evening, and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and thank you for joining us for episode 116. I've got our very own Tom and Jerry supporting me, making fun of my black eye. Yes, is it a black eye? Is it makeup? Then let them two decide. Tonight, we're going to analyse our win against Man United and our draw at Spurs, give you our match and player analysis, talk about Cunha's ban, take your questions, and look ahead to Monday night's game against Nottingham Forest. Gentlemen, good evening. It's been a little while. Hope you've had a nice Christmas. I'm sure you both have, and I know you both rather be watching the darts, but here we are doing it on the night that Tyler requested, despite him moaning about the darts. Thank you to all those joining us live for this episode. You can also catch up on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, X, and then later on Spotify as well. Give us a follow, a like, help us slowly build the show. Nocky, take us back to your festive spirit on Boxing Day evening, where it finished Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Manchester United 0.
God, it feels ages ago now, doesn't it? Outstanding performance, really, really good. I know that a player sent off, but I thought we had a level of control before that happened. We seem to have a real good shape to us. We seem to have a bit of an identity, which is something that we've not always been able to claim over the last couple of seasons. And we were solid. We tactically knew what to do. We reacted to everything Man United did. It was just a really, really good performance, and we scored two absolutely fabulous goals. I mean, how you score from a corner, I really don't know. And the second one is all about the physical presence of Tommy Doyle and, you know, a bit of know-how to get the ball forward and an excellent ball across to finish. So it was a real solid performance. I do think we were the better team from the start. I don't think they really threatened us too much. It was just a surprise, really. I think we'd have all probably taken a point after the Leicester game. So to go there and get back-to-back wins and winning the manner we did as well, substitutes affected the game really positively, and it was just a pretty complete performance, and I felt like we were relatively dominant. So yeah, really pleased.
Tyler, this is a game that you called ages ago. I know your predictions change, and you're pretty much the grump that levels things out on the show. But you called this Man United win a while ago back, and I don't want to undercredit Wolves, but it's a poor Man United side, and as Nocky said, I think even before the red card, I thought Wolves were the better side.
Oh yeah, it's the poorest Man United side of our generation, isn't it, that we can remember? But you can only beat what's in front of you, can't you? And I agree with Nocky. I think, yeah, them going down to 10 men did help, but I thought we were fairly comfortable in what we were doing before that. You don't want to do comparisons to Nuno's Wolves because it's far too young for that. But you see these Portuguese coaches come in and they have a plan straight away, don't they? And he purposely has calmed it down a little bit. He slowed everything down. We look a different team on the ball. We're retaining it, but we're retaining it with purpose. We know when to pounce. We know when to sit in. We know when to drop off. It's very basic, isn't it? But it's what happens when you get a proper football manager in. And I know it's early days and we don't want to get carried away, but it's not a local judgment. These guys come in and from day one, they're up and running and they know what they're doing and they know their way around a football pitch. And it's chalk and cheese, isn't it, to what we were seeing before. And yeah, you know, you win the game 2-0. It was pretty comfortable, wasn't it, really? It was almost like a routine home win that we were getting used to in the good days. So, you know, we need to make Molineux hostile again. We need to make it a fortress. We need to stop having our bellies tickled at home by every team that comes and visits us. And I just thought it was a good, solid, professional display where every player knew their job. And like Nocky said, the substitutions were great. Whenever they made a tweak, we matched it. I couldn't fault the performance. I saw some people saying it wasn't great, but for me, I thought it was very, very good.
Nocky, one of the things that I really enjoyed the most, and this, I don't know if this sounds really boring, I love the way we managed the game. I know there was a couple of occasions when we were guilty of probably overplaying a little bit, but there was times in the game when you thought Man United might get a foot in or sneak back in, slow the play down, little triangles, draw them onto us. I know that sounds like a simple tactic, but it was so good to see Wolves doing the basics really well again.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly already a real layer of trust between the players and the manager. And what I probably really liked about it was the fact that he dropped Rodrigo Gomez, not because I don't like Rodrigo Gomez, but that was a really brave decision to make based on the Leicester performance. So he put Aït-Nouri in because he believed that was the player who was going to be most effective on that side, whereas some managers would look and think, well, we've just won 3-0, I should probably stick with that and go with it. He picked a team to win a football match, and that was really important. And look, we went a bit deep in the last sort of 10 minutes, but when you've only won one game all season and you're only a goal up, natural instincts are gonna kick in. But whereas you felt we were going to fold in other games and you felt that we were going to capitulate, you never really thought they were going to hurt us. And yes, it's a poor Man United side, but they've still got some quality in that team, and they're still a man for man on paper a better team than us. So to keep them at arm's length in the way they did was really impressive. But we managed the game so well, and the substitutions were at the right time, and they were perfect substitutions to make. And the way that we stayed in our shape, and we didn't advance when we didn't need to, and we didn't give the ball away unnecessarily, which we've been guilty of so many times this season. It was just a really professional display. And this manager's, it was always a bit of a lottery, as it is with any manager, with the record he's got in terms of moving around with clubs. But some of the decisions he's made, even at this stage, have been exceptional. I mean, he's put Doherty in the back three, and he looks like he's done almost what Nuno did with Cody when he's found him a new position, which is effective for him. So when you've got a manager who's clearly understands the game and can look at a player's individual talents, it gives everyone a little bit of a lift, and the players have bought into it. And you can see by the shapes that we're playing in now, and people like Goncalo Guedes with a smile on his face, it just feels like it was a lift everybody needed. And this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler, let's make no mistake, though, it's an average Man United team that seem to have been trying to fix mistakes with money, but that's £1 billion football squad that have had, I mean, you go back as far as Maguire, 75, 80 million, Anthony, 80 million. Granted, they've overpaid, but this is a side that have pumped millions and millions. But look how well Wolves were, how well coached they were in comparison. 3 games in, granted, he's gone back to our default shape, but what the manager's done in a short space of time, just to make all the players look comfortable and organised, it's a breath of fresh air.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why you've got reason to be positive. I mean, the Leicester game was a couple of days after he took charge, and we looked well drilled, and then it's carried on, and then obviously we'll come on to Spurs, but I think that second half was excellent as well. So within a week or two, he's got his ideas across quickly. The players have bought into it. I've seen some articles today from, Tom O'Doyle's one of them, just saying they've all bought in, they're all behind him, they're all backing him. The change of regime, the change of voice has obviously given some of the players a lift. We're seeing Doyle now, we're seeing Rodrigo, we're even seeing Forbes for a few minutes. Players seem to have had a new start. It's almost like a blank canvas to work from, isn't it? So although United, I think, are a poor side, and I'm not just saying this, I genuinely think they need to be looking over their shoulders in regards to getting 40 points. I think they're that bad. That doesn't matter, because we lost at home to Ipswich the week before, who are, like Nocky said at the time, a team full of what was championship players. So you can only perform and beat what's in front of you. And Wolves were such good value for that 3 points. And, long may that Molineux bounce hopefully continue.
Absolutely. Let's talk through the goals. Nocky, Matheus Cunha, I mean, I think he's tried it in the first half, but their keeper, Anana's gone to the near post and managed to clear. I think we've jumped with one of our centre-backs and punch clear. He said he's done it on purpose, and I believe him. I mean, this guy is scoring from absolutely everywhere. His touch, his talent, he's on the volley Cruyff turns. I can't even do that on FIFA. Mind you, I can't do anything on FIFA. But the touch and the ability of that guy, and how refreshing to see Wolves doing a bit of housery on an opposing keeper instead of happening to us. It was really simple. One in front, one behind. Don't use your arms. Control your space. Be strong. On target goal. For me, it's a fantastic goal.
Yeah, I completely agree. Before going to that, just on the poorness of Manchester United, I think when you look at Ipswich, you look at Brentford, you look at some of the other teams that have beaten us, man for man, they're not better than us. They were just better coached. I think we had the better coach on the day and we won the game. And it's, as we've said for a few months now, how important your manager is when you're in a relegation battle, because the best managers will get you out of trouble. So, but in terms of the goal, he's clearly meant it. He's tried it a couple of times. It's fantastic, and it's I don't know how you do that from that angle. It's not something that I would ever have had the capability of doing, is to swing a ball in like that. But to get that much height on it and to get it to dip the way he did, and it landed sort of halfway down the net as well. So it's not as if it was raging into the top corner. It's just a perfect lift over the goalkeeper. And we've started doing a few little things with our free kicks now. I mean, I know we'll come on to Spurs, but again, that was another well-worked goal that came from a set piece. And we've been so bland and so boring with set pieces for so long. It's just great to see them trying something a bit different. And it was well calculated. You can tell they meant it because they surrounded Onana as well. And they didn't foul him, but they didn't give him the room to move and come and advance and collect the ball.
How often does that happen to us?
It's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you've got your back to the goalkeeper and he puts his hands on you. It's never going to be a foul. So it's just a really intelligent goal. But it only happens if you've got a player of his quality who can do that. And I know James Ward-Prowse did it to us last season, and he's a magician with his right foot. So it's
Douglas Louis scored 2 last year, I think. Maybe.
He did, yeah. It's an incredible piece of skill to be able to do it. And that goes into the net. It settles everyone down. We're playing against 10 men, and I think you could feel that Molineux was alive, and it was getting back to its kind of spiteful best at that point as well, which is exactly where we need to be, because we're not out of trouble by any stretch of the imagination. So we're going to need everyone on the same page, because I think there's a long way to go yet. I think Wolves will be in the bottom 3 at some point again this season, but I do feel we've got the opportunity now to get out of it, depending on what we do in this January window. So, yeah, really lots of positives for us to take. And in terms of the goal itself, it was just a phenomenal piece of skill.
Just moving on for the classic counter-attack goal. We mentioned it earlier on, Tyler, but I know I'm repeating it, but I was so pleased with the way Wolves managed the game. Granted, there was a couple of bits of overplaying on the left-hand side, but the way they managed it and slowed it down and drew them on, it was properly professional. And it sounds so simple, but so refreshing to see, to be managing a team like Man United. And you just felt, like Nocky said, you just felt like Wolves looked in control.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember. I mean, it's been a week and I've had a bit of port and cheese, but I can't remember Jose Sarr having to make a save second half, or if it would have been regulation, I think we kept them at arm's length. We kept them at bay. It was almost sometimes a bit of a training drill, wasn't it? The way we kept the ball and moved it from side to side and recycled it and kept going. And I never was in doubt. I think, like Nocky said, with other home games, you're sort of waiting for the opposition to score at times, or you know what's coming. But like we've said, we just look like a well-drilled, confident outfit where every player knows their position, they know what's expected from them. And it's, like I said, it's chalk and cheese to what we were seeing a couple of weeks before, isn't it? I think discipline's probably the big word. The players, not from like a fouling or a cards perspective, but the discipline to know your position, know what you're there to do. And they all did it very well. And the good sign is that when the substitutions come on, they carry on as well. Nothing changes. He's playing players in the right positions. They know their job. And, like you said, it's early days, and on with Nocky, I think we'll drop back in. I think we're still in a right battle, but we've got a chance now, haven't we, because of that. And I tweeted, I think, 2 or 3 centre halves away from staying up. I genuinely think that's the difference now.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if Wolves signed 2 athletic mobile centre backs in this window, I think that keeps Wolves up. I'm happy not to sign anyone anywhere else. I think there's enough goal threat as long as you don't do something silly and sell Cunha, which I don't think we will. Nocky, the winning goal, well, the match decider, it was like Wolves of old. First of all, credit to Tommy Doyle. I mean, his interception at Brighton was the start of a fantastic equaliser, and this here was the match winner. He showed some strength against Garnacho, fed a ball down the line, perfect. I was expecting Cunha just to bury that in the far corner himself, a man on his form, but showing what the team player he really is. I don't know if he was knackered when he got there because he put some shift in, but it's one to boost Channy with, who scored again the following week. So for me, it's such a together team goal when you see so many players like that would just shoot themselves, but it's a well-worked goal. It's a clinically finished professional end to the game.
I've given Doyle a little bit of stick this season because I think we should be seeing a little bit more from him, but he's been involved in some massive moments. And as you said, the Brighton one started off a bit of a mini revival for us. And he was really strong against Garnacho. And I know Garnacho's not the biggest player in the world, but he read it really well and he gets his body in front of him. It would have been really easy to give a foul away, and he's managed to collect the ball. And then you can see him have a little look up. He's not just hoofed it, it's a little bit of a look to see what's in front of him. And it's a fantastic ball. Cunha doesn't have to break stride. And I think that's what you get with a Cunha that you don't get with some other players of his quality, because they're desperate to score goals and want they want the headlines. The fact that he was able to put one on a platter for Hwangi to smash in, and then he was desperately needed that goal. He desperately needed it. It's been such a long time since he scored. And the fact that he did that, you could feel almost a bit of a visible lift in him. And then obviously he smashes one in. He basically scored 2 goals in 10 minutes, hasn't he? So it's done him the world of good. But yeah, it was a fantastic goal. And to hear the roar when Cunha goes through, and you just knew it was going to end up in the back of the net. You knew they were going to score it, and to see it slap in the top corner and the ground explode, and you've got your 3 points, and Cunha falls to his knees. I just felt really proud. I felt really proud of the team, because we've all had negative moments this season, and I relegated us probably a month and a half ago. I thought it was curtains for us, and to see them show that level of fight and spirit and togetherness to come back and have a right good go at it. I was so proud of them when we got that second goal. It was a brilliant moment, and it certainly made Christmas a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting no points, and then we sacked O'Neill, and things have got a lot better in the short term. So yeah, really good day for us. I'm delighted.
Yeah, incredible start for the manager, and we're a Matt Doherty header away from it being 9 from 9 at Spurs. But one final thing I want to talk about from the Man United game, Tyler, and this is something I took great pleasure in, and it's not usually who I am, but to be honest, I took great joy in Bruno Fernandes being sent off. One, because it helps Wolves, but this is a player that constantly leaves his foot in on people. This is a player that's constantly in the referee's ear. He's constantly throwing himself down like he's been hit with the hardest tackle ever. Does he get fouled a lot? Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, he's a fantastic footballer, but he's petulant and he gets away with it because he wears the armband for Man United. So he has he's had 2 or 3 kicks at Cunha. He's gone down, he's got booked. That's a booking all day long. And that down Semedo shin, that's a disgusting tackle. It's sneaky. It's onto an international teammate. Yes, he's frustrated, but for me, and I don't do this very often, and we should do it when it happens, that is fantastic refereeing. He's had the balls to do it. It has changed the game, and it has swung in Wolves' favour. Wolves are the better team, though, but it was the right decision, Tyler.
Yeah, and that's a fair comment on the referee, because we've come on here and hammered them. That was the best refereeing display I've seen.
Strong, wasn't it?
Remember Wolves game since I can remember. He wasn't blowing for every single foul. He was letting players tussle, tackle. The one on Cunha is a great example of where, Cunha was fouled 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, 2 or 3 kicks at him.
But he let it go, and he knew to let it go, and he was doing it for both teams. He was a really encouraging refereeing display, which you have to give them credit for, because when they're poor, we make it knowing that they're poor. But he's just horrible, isn't he? He's one of them players that I've just got no time for, unfortunately, in the modern game. We need to be stamping out his actions, before it gets to the point it gets to. But he just couldn't really cope with Wolves on the day, could he? And he's probably looking at his teammates thinking, well, you're not good enough, and it cost him his place on the pitch, didn't it? But the 2 clearest yellow cards you're ever going to see. Nice to see a strong ref willing to send off a Man United player. Once that happened, there wasn't really any doubt what the result was going to be, was there?
Absolutely. Not one to celebrate red cards for opposing players, but when it happens to someone that does the antics that he does, I'm quite happy to see it, especially
he's horrible.
He's Wolverhampton Wanderers. Any take on that, Nocky, before we move on to Spurs?
He's just a rat, and he's just horrible. He's sneaky. He's not. You've got hard men in the game, and he's not an hard man. He's just horrible. He'll rake the studs, and he'll give him a little nudge when the ref's not looking. He's in the referee's face. He's just a horrible, horrible footballer. So he's cost his team, potentially a point or maybe 3 with his actions. So I'm delighted he was sent off, because he's just disgusting.
Might have a little look at him when Man United get relegated. Anyway, just before the year ended, Tyler, Wolverhampton Wanderers drew 2-2 away at Spurs. We knew there was going to be goals at Spurs. We'd had 2 clean sheets, but that they put their fullbacks up, so sometimes they've almost got a front 6, which opens up for them. So it guarantees them goals, but guarantees conceding as well. But overall, Tyler, I think that's a good point and a good performance away at Spurs.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the performance. I thought couldn't really fault it for me. I thought we've given away, I think there are 2 soft goals, but that's probably to be expected after 2 clean sheets. We sort of reverted back to type for a little bit, didn't we? But I thought the second half we were absolutely dominant. And I don't ever normally feel like this about Wolves, but I genuinely thought we were going to equalise. I thought we were going to score. And obviously when you leave it that late, you think, oh, maybe not. But I thought Wolves were really good again. I thought we looked fairly lively on the break. I'm sure we'll come on to it. I've still got question marks over Bellegarde and his role when he plays. Fair. I wasn't surprised to see Hwang start with their potential high line that they play at home.
Did you call it on the group chat?
I don't think we utilised it enough potentially. Guedes, if you're being critical, should have probably started with that in mind. I think with Cunha,
I think he was carrying it. He was knackered from the game before, and he's not had a lot of starts, has he?
No, and I sort of said in the morning, I think Cunha, Guedes, and Hwang would cause that Spurs team problems. And Bellegarde again, I think flattered to deceive a little bit. Dawson again, I'm sure we'll come on to, just needs to be put out to pasture, doesn't he? But he was way off it, wasn't he? Unfortunately, but you're taking into account 3 changes going to Spurs, who they are shaky, but they've got some real,
serious firepower. Son, he's a world-class footballer at his best. He's a top operator, and they've got some really, really good footballers. And as I said, they've usually got Porro and Udogie pushing up, and that gives them a front 6. They're going to score past anybody. But
I thought we managed them well. Ultimately. And again, it's not a game where Jose Sar's diving all over the shot, making save after save. We were fairly comfortable, apart from the silly moments that led to the goals.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was one moment when Doyle was a bit sloppy and he got caught out. But I think Jose Sá managed his space well, and Bueno was covering as well. So his teammates, I think that he sort of got Doyle out of trouble. But Nocky, let's start up with the goal. It's not something a goal was expecting, to be honest. I know goals do players' confidence, but seeing Hwang Chan bend one in the corner from a free kick is not something I had on my script ever, to be honest. But it's a really well-worked goal. I don't think they were expecting Chan to get the ball. Ain't Nori with a cheap fantasy points assist, but it's such a well-worked free kick. Drew the players in, opened up for Hwang, side-footed, no keeper stopping that. It's a fantastic opener.
It's just something different, isn't it? Rather than just lumping it in the box and hoping that it drops, it's something a little bit clever, and he's hit it really well. And I've watching it back on Match of the Day, it made a lovely sound off the post as well. I love them when they smash the post like that. It's just a nice clunk. But it was well worked. It was a good ball into him. He's hit it. The keeper's got absolutely no chance because it's in the corner. So yeah, really good. But I thought they made some really brave decisions. The starting lineup was brave. It would have been very easy just to put put the Viking up front and hope it drops to him again. But whereas he picked a team that he thought could be effective, and so there was some good moments on and off the pitch. But I thought we were definitely good value for a point, and we maybe could have pinched it.
Tyler, the set piece thing came back to haunt us. We'd scored from 2 set pieces, one against Man United, one against Spurs, and then one come back to bite us. Frustrating. It's a great corner and a great header, but he's got too much space there, and he's hit it full on, and you've got no chance. But I think he's got too much space. Yeah,
it's disappointing, isn't it, so soon after you've scored, because that place would have got toxic. I think the longer you keep it at 1-0, their fans aren't happy, the manager's under pressure. Just try and eke it out, just try and keep it tight, for 15, 20 minutes after you've scored. But from that point, they sort of got on top of it, didn't they? Excuse me, with the penalty and then their second goal. But you've got to be critical, because we were critical when it was O'Neill. It's a poor goal to concede. It's basic. You've got to want to die to attack that ball, haven't you, and to clear it. And we didn't attack it. We were soft, and their player wanted it, hence him scoring, and that's what's disappointing.
Keeping with you, Tyler, there's a penalty. Now, for me, again, I don't understand how that's a penalty. Now, so the player has managed to stretch his leg in front of Andre and somehow managed to get in front. I think it's very similar to when Semedo was fouled.
Exactly that.
And it was given as a foul because, if anything, he's kicking Andre and it's a free kick the other way. Now, I think if he's not give it in real time, I don't think VAR overturned that, because he's kicked Andre, and we know VAR is supposed to there to get the right decision and not back up your mates or change the original decision, which it seems to do. But I don't understand. But forget about that, Tyler. It's a great save.
It is, but I had exactly the same thought. It's the Semedo one, and that for me is why it's not a penalty. Gets his leg there first. It's contact. It doesn't mean it's a foul. He's obviously gone down like he's been shot, and it's never going to get overturned in a million years because of that. But nice to see us save a penalty. It doesn't happen too often, does it? I think it looked like Wang played a part in it from pointing Jose which way to dive.
Nice,
that'll do Sar's confidence the world of good, although I think he's already looking like a different goalkeeper to when Gary was here. Son just can't seem to get one over on us, can he? He doesn't seem to score past us very often, if at all, does he? So, good and important to keep that out because we didn't want to fold like a deck of cards, did we, with quick goals?
Yeah, unfortunately though, Nocky, Spurs, as Tyler said, they're sort of the way they were on a bit of a crest of wave. Then they were probably, they weren't exactly like shots flying left, right, and centre. But then they got into the box. Dawson sort of got stood up. They poked it back, and it's a great finish from Johnson. But equally, we looked a little bit flat, and Dawson looked a little bit easy to beat in the build up to that goal.
It's soft from our perspective, but it's a nicely worked goal. I mean, there's some fast flowing one touch football in there, which has opened us up. So it's bad, but it's not. It's certainly not in the list of some of the goals that we've conceded this season because they've moved the ball really well. Dawson was a bit flat footed, but I think everyone was kind of rooted because of the way they were moving the ball. So disappointing to concede it, but sometimes you have to kind of put your hands up and say they've worked it really well, especially the finish. It gives Sarr no chance.
Yeah, it's a really it's a good goal, and I feel like Johnson always seems to score past us. I don't know why that is, but he just seems to be one of those players. Tyler, half time, Cunha goes off. You're thinking this is going to be a tough second half, but as you mentioned, I thought Wolves were in control for large parts of that second half. And for me, the equaliser is just such a Steve Bull-esque kind of finish, no messing around. Credit to Ain't Nora. He's cut inside. He's cut back on himself with his weak foot, and the touch and finish from Jørgen Strand Larsen is out of this world.
Yeah. I don't want to sound critical, but I thought Strand Larsen, when he came on, maybe didn't have the impact that he could have done. I thought
tie hamstring as well, mate. I think he was a bit stiff.
Yeah, and you could sort of tell, couldn't you? He wasn't really pressing. He wasn't closing down that much, but he still had a very important role in it. And I mean, the finish is brilliant, isn't it? I mean, I don't know who Fraser forced us to waving to in the crowd because he got nowhere near it. And it's just that quality, isn't it? That it happens to us so many times, doesn't it? Where you get done by a bit of Premier League quality and a late goal. And again, it's nice to see us doing it. It's nice to see us on that front foot. The ball's brilliant. The run's brilliant. The finish is brilliant.
Touch is great.
You can't knock it. It's just a really good goal. And we were good value for that point, I thought. Really good value for it. And, it leads you into then having a bit of a break between the Forest game of getting everyone hopefully strapped up, fit. And another week on the training ground, isn't it, where you're hoping even more positive things come from it. But yeah, he's so important to what we do and how we play. But it's nice that everybody's contributing. Guedes came on, Wang's contributed last couple of games, Forbes came on and I thought looked quite bright.
Great run,
Tommy Doyle's now in and around the side. And like I said earlier, it's just giving everyone that bit of a lift, isn't it? And they're involved, aren't they? They're involved, which is what they're going to want to be.
Nocky, you made some brave changes. I know some of it was down to fitness, and obviously you had to make the call on Cunha, who I don't think Cunha's pulled his hamstring, but he could feel like if he was going to sprint, it might have gone. So he's made some really good calls, and he's done it. But what's been good for me is the timing of the substitutions. He seems to have got them right when the players coming on have had an immediate impact in the game. They know their position. We seem energised. Everyone seems involved. It looks like a squad game again, as opposed to a select 12. Now everyone's involved, and there's a whole sort of sprinkling of confidence.
He uses subs really well. He makes intelligent changes. I think sometimes teams get sucked into, we'll get to 60 minutes and then we'll make a couple of changes and then we'll give it another 10, then we'll make another change. And, managers seem to do that quite a lot. He seems to do it with intent. He makes subs that he thinks can can affect the game. And yeah, you've got to take Cunha off. There's no way you can risk him tearing that and he's out for 6 weeks. So that was a right decision to make. But I think to start Hwang was brave. You know, a lot of managers would have brought on Strand Larsen, started him in the game because he's your focal point. So to make that decision was brave. As I said in the Man United game, to take Rodrigo Gomez off was brave because he'd had a good game against Leicester. So when you've got a manager who's picking teams to win football matches, it gives you half a chance. And he also needs to have a look at the squad as well. We're in a situation where we've got a month now to correct everything that's wrong. He needs to know who's going to be able to affect that team and who's not going to play a part for him. So he's got to have a look at everybody. And I agree with what you said earlier on. I think I'm comfortable everywhere on the pitch if we only replace the back two. 2 or 3 centre halves perhaps, and unless we make any sales as we potentially may do, we should look at that. But generally, I don't think the squad's in a bad place, and I think if we've got a manager who knows how to use the team and use the squad and get the best out of them at the right time, then we're going to have a chance.
Absolutely, I think it's one of the questions as well. But just finishing off on your point there, Nocky, it's athleticism and pace. If you add that into the back three, now I know obviously it's very much someone that splits opinion, but in terms of the physical attributes that Totti gives us, defenders of that pace and strength is what I think Wolves were missing at Spurs. And Tyler's going to probably scream his head off. I think if Totti's fit at Spurs, Wolves might win that game. I just think it's the kind of game stopping a Son or a Kulusevski. He's better in those games playing against more technical players than when he's got more time on the ball. But the Totti debate goes on.
Yeah, we know where the issues are there, don't we? I mean, we know the back line is a problem, but based on what I've seen so far, there's potential that he could improve Totti because he seems to like to give people specific tasks and specific jobs to do. And you look at Forbes when he came on. I mean, the last few times he's come on, he's looked like he's running up a blind alley half the time. He doesn't know.
Yeah, that touch and chance he created was fantastic.
He had some intent about him. He had something about him, and you thought, oh, actually, maybe he can do a job for us down that side. So if you can get into Totti, you can. And we said it before, haven't we? If you play Totti in a 3. And you tell him you're looking after this area of the pitch, you're looking after this player, and you're stopping the crosses coming in. That's all you've got to do for the game. He'll do you a job. When he's got too much to do and too much to think about, that's when he goes slightly awry. But yes, Totti's a physical player who adds a little bit of pace and power on that side. But I think we'd be very naive to think that we don't need to upgrade at least
I agree. I think Wolves' fittest 11, I think Totti gets in it at the moment. In playing a 3-4-3, I think he starts left centre-back. I think if he's got a Santiago Bueno and an Ait-Nouri either side of him, you've got an out ball for him there, and I just think he can concentrate on defending. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but that's what he's good at. Anyway, let's move on to the player ratings and get into some questions. So, Tyler, starting off with the reborn Jose Sarr.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. He looks like a different keeper to me. Confident, comfortable on the ball. He's coming and getting crosses again, smashing people out of the way. His distribution's good. He looks like a new signing. And the talk today about Sam Johnston potentially leaving Wolves, I mean, for me, that would be a positive. I think you're making Sarr your number one. You're my man. You've got the shirt to the end of the season. No more complications. And I think you can just tell he's obviously had a lift of some sort, hasn't he? He looks twice as tall as he was, doesn't he? He was always the better goalkeeper. I don't think there's ever any debate about that. And we could talk about the Johnson transfer till the cows come home, couldn't we? But we're starting to see the best of Jose Sarr again. And, it's early days, like we've said. Long may it continue, hopefully. But
absolutely. It's not just him, though, Tyler. There seems to have been a sprinkling of belief put all over the squad. I don't remember last time Jose Sarr was like proper punching corners or trying to catch them or catch crosses. He's doing it now, and he believes in himself, and that's what happens when he's got the backing. And as Tommy Doyle said, I think we all needed a fresh start.
Overcomplicating it. Sorry, Rod, I mean to cut across, but we've stopped overcomplicating it for him, haven't we? And we touched on it last week. It's not always about what you ask a goalkeeper to do. It's about what you ask him not to do as well. When you stop getting him to play at the back all the time, when you're making him comfortable, that if you want to just wallop it downfield because you're not comfortable, go and do it. And he's done that a few times. So if you're playing to the goalkeeper's strengths, you're giving him an opportunity to.
Yeah, we're not asking him to overplay and pass it to the fullback every single time. If you're not 100% on the pass, well, yeah, because you've got a big centre forward, and I'm okay with that. There's no football snobbery. Yeah. I am a purist. I want 1-2s and I want triangles, but I want Wolves to win more. And if it's about hitting a long ball occasionally to get yourself out of trouble, no problem at all. Nocky, while we're still with you, tell us about the back three: Matt Doherty, Santiago Bueno, and Craig Dawson.
I thought Doherty was probably the pick of the three. I'm a little bit nervous about it because we kind of had this discussion, and Tyler picked up on it around experimenting with teams. How long do you keep the experiment going? Because as well as he's done, he's not a centre half, is he? So I'm a little bit nervous that may pull the purse strings in slightly. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I thought just based on that game, I thought he was very good. He was very vocal. He seemed to be organising really well, and he was the pick of the three for me. Bueno, I thought he had a really good game. I don't think he was hugely tested. He looked relatively.
It suits him in the middle of a three, I think, Nocky.
Yeah,
he's best in the middle of a three.
He's got a bit of Cody about him. He hasn't got a lot of pace, so you want probably your slowest one in that position because it's less likely that they're going to advance straight through the middle. So he's probably best suited there. His pace does worry me a little bit, though. I think he's a bit slow. Dawson, I think his time's come. If I'm being completely honest, I think he should be put out to pasture now. He's been a great servant to the game and he's done us a fantastic job, but he seems very flat-footed. He seems like he's planted now. He doesn't seem to have that yard of pace. I know he's never been electric, but he had a little bit of movement on him. He just seems to be a bit static now. So I feel like he's someone you want to keep around the club. You want to keep him in the squad because he brings that experience. But in terms of being your starter now, I think if we come out of January and he's still our first choice at centre-half, we've got a major problem.
What I would say about Dawson, Nocky, is I do have a certain amount of sympathy, and I know he's a pro footballer, but I think playing left or right of a three there, I think the ones on either side now have to have a bit of mobility, and I think you're exposing him playing him left or right. I think he is the person that's backup. I think Santi's been fantastic since he's come in. I think he's the backup for the man in the middle, and if Santi has a poor game, Dawson comes back in the middle because he was going to win all his headers. He's the talker, he's the organiser. I just don't think he has the engine anymore to play left or right.
Yeah, you can't beat the clock, can you? You know, it catches up with everybody. So as much as I think he's a great asset to have around the club, you've got to be realistic because there's been some moments in the, you know, when he has played in the recent games where he's played a short pass to Sarr, or he's just not quite delivered the ball he should have done, or he's not been in the right position, and those can start catching up with you. And when you're at that age, it can go downhill very, very quickly. So yeah, I'm not knocking him as a footballer. He's had a phenomenal career, but at this level now, the game's very, very fast, and I just think he's not physically able to compete with that now.
Tyler, tell me about the Wingbacks. These two Wolves players, Nelson Semedo and Ryan Aït-Nouri, both in the top five for defenders taking on players in top flight football across European football this season. I think Nelson was fourth and Aït-Nouri was first. Some stats they are, but I think it's a good game for them both at Spurs.
I don't want to knock your stat, but I think it's easier when you're a wing back, isn't it? Given a bit of freedom to do that. So I think
you should be taking people on to part of your game.
Yeah, it has to be taken into account, and it's Aït-Nouri's natural game, isn't it? And I think they were both fine. I think they've played better for Wolves, and they've certainly played worse for Wolves. I don't think they were exceptional, but again, they just, you know, Aït-Nouri now just looks to have that sparkle back, doesn't he? He likes doing his cheeky little step over again, and the drag with the studs. He was making poor decisions under O'Neill. He was giving the ball away in bad positions. The goal, someone put on the comments that we were talking about Strand Larsen's finish, but the pass is
on his weak foot.
Yeah, fantastic. Wonderful. Drifted inside, doesn't look like a threat. Yeah, you come inside, mate, and then pops it off, bang. So, was it 2 assists he got potentially?
Yeah. I mean, it's an easy one.
You got to count the foot.
Yeah, rolls the one for Wayne.
But yeah, you've still got to do it and execute it with the right pace and the right ball on it. So that'll, again, it's like Sarr, that'll just do him the world of good. And they're very important players, aren't we? Especially if now we're settled on the back three. Those two, for me, are critical in the success for the rest of the season, really.
I'd say equally to signing two centre-backs, Wolves couldn't make a better signing this window if they give Nelson Semedo a contract extension. He had a rocky first year, slowly improved. He now, for me, looks like Mr. Consistent. He looks like he's in the prime of his career. Yes, he's a big earner. He's got the captain's armband. Wolves have 1-2, drawn 1. He's respected. He's playing well. Get him on that. I've got to give him a deal, because if not, Wolves are going to have... Because Doherty's not going to be able to play wing-back in the Premier League next year.
They've not signed Pedro Lima to sit on the bench for 2 years.
But he's not getting a kick. He's not going to be a Premier League Southern Cup player to suddenly being a Premier League wing back. He needs.
I don't know. Something tells me with that Pedro Lima signing that
he's good. He's good.
Unless that he's good, yeah, because Chelsea was sniffing and wanted him. He's come to us over Chelsea. I'd have thought on the premise because he's going to be in the team quicker than if he was at Chelsea. I just don't know. No, I'm with you. I love Nelson. I just don't know if sometimes what are you going to do? A 2-year deal at his age, top earner?
I think so.
I don't think that's not how Wolves operate now, though.
It's not. Okay, so what's cheaper, to get another fullback in or to give him a 2-year contract? Because we're going to lose him for free anyway.
But what are you doing with Lima?
Well,
I'm not saying Lima's going to be good, bad, or indifferent, but there's a reason they signed him.
But they're not going to give him a new deal, surely, unless they know we're safe, and he's not going to sign a new deal unless he knows that we're going to be safe. So I can't see any possible.
I think he could have a pick of many clubs at the moment because he's. I mean,
do well, yeah.
We're not talking about someone now that's sort of frail and always injured. We're talking about someone at their very peak, physically, composure-wise. He looks very good, and I really hope he signs. I think he's
got one big move left in him. And I don't think he'll stay at Wolves now.
Yeah.
I don't think
there's if he does, I don't begrudge him that. I hope he's to us.
He's 31. 2 years, he's 33. I just don't see Wolves potentially do. I think they might offer him something, but I don't think it's going to be on his terms ultimately. And Knock is right. At that stage, you want one big payday. I just don't see it.
Hopefully the Don Vitor Portuguese speaking revolution continues and the captain extends. Nocky, tell me about our centre midfielders, Joe Gomez and Andre.
You can't see anyone breaking them up, can you? They work so well together. That double pivot's just perfect for them too. It's amazing how long it's taken Andre to get a regular spot in that team. It's just the two that works, isn't it? You know, they play together for Brazil. They've got a real good understanding of what each other do. They seem to cover each other really well. One will sit, one will go. Just a real strong partnership. It's very, very rare that Wolves get dominated in midfield when those two are playing because of how much energy they bring to that area. So it's a struggle. And this is where Tommy Doyle, I know people want Tommy Doyle to get a little bit more time, but I don't know where he fits in unless you start playing around with the formation. I don't see him doing that. Mario, I can only see him leaving because I don't know where he fits into any of this as well. So it's difficult to see those two being broken up. And for me, I think we need to get some stability in that team now and try and find your best 11 and try and stick with it now to the end of the season. That's got to be your best midfield. I think they were pretty imperious.
Yeah, I don't see them two losing many battles. Andre, now I think we're starting to see what he's all about. I mean, the press he got from South America and Brazil when he came, I think we're starting to see that now. And I don't mean it disrespectful to Mario. I absolutely love Mario. Mario is one of the reasons why Wolves are still playing Premier League football. And I hope he comes back and gets his shirt because he'd have to be playing really well if he is. But at the moment, it looks like there's them two going forward. Tyler, finishing off with our front three. Not what I was expecting, but a reasonable performance all round. Maybe other than Bellegarde.
Yeah, Cunha was his typical self, wasn't he, until the injury, but then I thought Guedes replaced him and looked bright. Hwang, if you're being critical, you maybe wanted a bit more out of him, but again, he's got his goal, and that's only going to do him the world of good. And then Strand Larsen, obviously, we've talked about when he can not replaced him, but, you know, in the position. Bellegarde's the conundrum, isn't he? We've talked about it a million times, but we can't really see where he fits in. Some think as a centre midfielder, some think a bit wider.
I think he's a centre midfielder. I think if someone is sitting, Andre is sitting, I think he could play as the 8 in front of him. I think that's where he plays.
Yeah, and is that one of the reasons we look, potentially open to offers to Mario? I don't know. Would you be happy ending the season with the two Brazilians, Bellegarde, Doyle, and maybe a half-fit Boubacar?
Traore's back soon as well. So
one of them is that. Well, I'm sure they'll come on to it. I don't know. I don't know where he fits into the team, but I'm sure Pereira will work out a lot quicker than I do. And it's one of those at the moment. Whatever he does, you sort of just have to back him and go with it, don't you? Because he's already built that trust with the fan base. So whatever Pereira does. If he thinks Bellegarde's best in that position, then so do I.
Yeah. Just moving on, last but least, Strand Larsen, we talked about it, didn't look his fittest. I believe he was a bit stiff from the Man United game, but it's an incredible finish, proper impact.
I was a bit stiff after the game.
I wish it was on after 9 o'clock, but unfortunately we're not.
Is it a family show?
That's a show absolutely finished.
Sorry.
You are listening and watching episode 116 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knott, Chris Tyler, and myself, Ryan Lester. Currently, we've got 1,425 live viewers. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, we have. Thank you for 1,428. Thank you so much for your comments, joining, watching. Please drop us a follow, like YouTube, X, Twitter, Spotify, whatever. Please continue the support. It is very much appreciated. Now, what we're going to talk about next, I've forgotten where we're at now. Cunha's
nice little thing that goes across the bottom.
Yeah, I forgot, mate. It's my black eye, mate. It's sending me do lalo.
You'll get another one if you don't get this right.
Oh no, yeah. Cunha's ban. I think he's fortunate to get away with 2 games. But as Daz pointed out, it was misconduct, not violent conduct. Knocky.
I'm amazed he's got away with 2 games, to be honest, especially with the fact he probably wouldn't play against Forest anyway because he looks like he needs a bit of a rest, and he's definitely not going to play against Bristol City. So it's probably the best we could have hoped for. I know there's a few Ipswich fans who are a little bit frustrated by it. I'm surprised he's got away with it. I mean, there was definitely a clear elbow to the back of the head, and then there was pinching the guy's glasses. So I'm surprised he's got away with it, especially because we haven't got the best relationship with the Football Association. But no, brilliant. It's the best case scenario.
I do agree with you, and I'm amazed as well. But what is the punishment for nicking someone's specs?
Well, that's the misconduct, isn't it? They haven't done
speculation.
But jokes aside, what is it? Is it a punishable offence to take someone's glasses off? I don't know.
I suppose he made contact with him.
He did drop a sly swinging elbow into the crowd before he collected the glasses. So I think it may be something to do with that. And it's not just that. If a player, you can see his head's gone, you can get banned for that. So Wolves have lost control of their footballer there.
We are all a bit surprised, aren't we? The only rumours I've seen was that there was some potential racism remarks, and you don't know, do you? Because the way him and Aït-Nouri both reacted was very strong, wasn't it? Like very. And I know we had no discipline or anything in the team at that point, but they're 2 of the players that you can't normally tell if they're half asleep or half awake.
Yeah, very chill. Very chill.
So for those 2 to react like that makes you wonder: have the FA just given it a couple of games, get it moved and move on? That's how I see it. But yeah, it's a funny one, but we'll all take that, won't we?
Absolutely. Anyway, I hope Cunha is sorry for his diabolical behaviour. Anyway, let's move on to some. Thank you. Let's move on to some questions. Jonah asks, can you see Wolves spending big, hoping to finish as high as they can in the table, or they initially try and avoid the drop with their signings? I don't see Wolves spending a lot of money, Jonah, in January. I think we might see Sarabia go. I think Mario might go. Johnson might go. I think there'll be a couple go. I do think we'll sign at least 1 centre-back. But, gents, I can't see... I mean, if Wolves did sign Kevin Dancer, which I hope they do, because he's everything that we need at the back that we haven't got on that right-hand side in terms of pace and strength. But I just don't see Wolves going big in January. I think if Wolves had lost the last 3 games... that might be a different story. But as they haven't, I think...
No, I don't think we'll spend heavy. I still think we'll stick as close as we can to the self-sufficient model. So the players you mentioned, I can see Lamina going. I could see Boubacar going. Sarabia, I see him going. Johnston goes. And then we probably bring in 2 centre-halves and maybe a midfielder as a bit of backup. But I don't see us spending heavy amounts of money. I don't think we need to spend a fortune. I think if we did get Danza, I don't think we'll get him. I think we'll look at a lower price player than that, if I'm being honest. But if we could get him or someone like him, and then another centre half as well, I don't think we'll be too far away. They're not going to look to try and push up the league and get Europe or finish mid-table. They'll just want to survive, and I think they'll think 2 centre halves will probably do that for us. So I wouldn't expect a huge amount of money thrown at it.
15th and an FA Cup win. That'll do me, Tyler. Moving on to the next question. Jonah, thank you for being part of the Wolves Report. Carl asks, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Carl. With the VP project now 3 games in, do you think he's starting to get near the level of standard of play he wants from our team? Tyler?
I don't think so. I think he'll have really, really high expectations, and I don't think he'll have scratched the surface yet on what he thinks is possible. It's funny, it's such fine margins in football, isn't it? Leicester, we weren't brilliant, really. Won 3-0. United, very comfortable 2-0. Spurs, I think there's still a lot more to come from these players. I really do. And I'm with you, boys. I think with 2, 3, if I'm being greedy, centre halves away from being a half decent side again. I genuinely think that's all it is for me. So he strikes me as the sort of manager that won't ever be content or won't ever be comfortable. But remember, Gary O'Neill had the players performing at their optimum, and we couldn't beat Ipswich at home. So depends who you're with, doesn't it?
Feels like there was a lot of self-preservation at the end of that managerial era. Carl, thank you for being part of the show. Dave's up next. Feels like many teams are coming into the injury period for the season. Can we afford to let anyone leave with what's at stake? That's a really good point. Do Wolves have a massive squad? No. I think it's the deepest squad in terms of quality we've had in a long time. The bench looks healthy. How many of those could we afford to get rid of? I'd say we haven't really seen Sarabia, have we, at all, because he's been injured. I wouldn't want to let Mario go unless Boubacar was fit, because I think you're really taking a risk then.
The Mario one's a funny one, isn't it? Because for me, there's no real reason to sell him now. And I think
if you lose one of your dogs in midfield, you're going to need him.
Even if you're taking 5-10 million less for him in the summer, doesn't matter if the trade-off is being in the Premier League still. And we're very quick, or we seem to be very quick as Wolves fans, to think, oh, he's not in the team, we can sell him. You need 4 or 5 good centre midfielders. Look at Villa's options, Newcastle's options, teams that apparently we compare ourselves with. They've got 5 or 6 brilliant players in that position, and we've got maybe 2 or 3. So unless there was someone coming in to replace Mario, I'm not sure how comfortable I'd be letting him go. The flip side is, if Pereira's seen something he doesn't like and he's never going to play him and he's not interested, sell him.
Yeah, that's
like I said, you've got to back what he's doing and back his judgment at the moment.
Dave, thank you for being part of the show. Greg and Cato, sort of on the same lines. Do you think Lamina is possibly being sacrificed to ensure there is an even amount of outgoings and incomings this window? Sarabia, Johnson and Kundal all being marked for exits. Same sort of thing as Dave question. If we had to sacrifice some of those players for a good centre-back coming in, someone who's going to affect the first team and make us a better side, I think it's a juggling act you have to do. Nocky, is that fair?
You've got to be so careful, if you were to get rid of a Mario, then you're an injury away in midfield from it all potentially falling apart. Because I know Tommy Doyle's got some, he's got some real strong points. His distribution's good, but he's not on the same planet as Andre and Gomez. So
not physically, for sure.
You need someone who can step in. So I think I'll be okay with Sarabia going. Johnston, I think, would probably benefit us if he went, because it's going to make Sarr feel a little bit safer and a little bit more comfortable. Kundal's never going to play for us, is he? So you're not going to get a great deal for him anyway. So if those 3 were to go, and then we could bring in a couple of centre-halves, I'm relatively comfortable. But if we start looking at 2 players who you think could really affect the first team and you start shipping those out, I think you're playing a very, very dangerous game there. I mean, you're talking 6 months, aren't you? To get through this season, get ourselves safe, and then you can start looking at these kind of
when you've got
ins and outs and rebuilding. I just think it's far too much of a risk to get to Barmy.
Yeah, they're the 3 names there, aren't you? That
you're comfortable, aren't you?
Most Wolves fans would be comfortable with.
Yeah.
The Mario one, I suppose the only question mark is that this happens at every single.
You know what? He might want to go if he's big.
He might do, yeah.
Let's say Saudi come in and offer him a 3-year deal on obscene money, and he's in his 30s. Good luck to him if he wants to do that. I wouldn't begrudge him. Mario Lamina is one of the reasons why Wolves are still in the Premier League, along with Craig Dawson and Lopetegui. So if Mario wants to go,
doesn't it? Fulham, Southampton, wherever he's been, this is how it always sort of ends with him. So it doesn't surprise you, does it? That there's rumours.
Equally, I'm happy for him to stay, and I think ensuring that we have an additional bulldog in midfield, that someone that's of that type of player that can battle and scrap and recover the ball, I'll be happy. But if he wanted to leave because there was there, I wouldn't be saying, well, I don't blame you either. So, Greg Cato, thanks for creating some debate. Let's have one more question. C1981U says, would you sell Cunha in Jan if all the money was released to put straight back into the team? We could buy 4 good players with that fee. I think he's too important. I think he's too important to sell. In the summer, I think it'd be hard to keep him if someone comes in for 85, 90, 100 million and it was all reinvested then, because I know it's not quite on the same level, but look what selling Jack Grealish did for Aston Villa. They recruited really well. They brought in 4 good players and it's seen them climb into regular European football because they've sold their star player. If Wolves did that, I'll be happy. But his impact on the football club, creative-wise, goals-wise, personality-wise, it's a massive loss. And in the middle of a relegation battle, which we are still in, I'm not selling. But appreciate the question, creating some more debate. Now, Mike asks, with our makeshift back line, if an opponent gets a goal and with Cunha out, who do we have to unlock their back four? Now, I'm going to start this one off with you, Nocky. How I'd start to answer that question is, the second half against Spurs, Wolves were a goal down without Cunha and they won the second half 1-0. Are we undervaluing the players that are around that we have that has gone to Spurs in the second half and won 1-0?
I don't think we're undervaluing him. I think we know how good Cunha is. He's a, for me, he's £100 million footballer. So any team would be effective if he's not in it. I don't think that's undervaluing anybody else. I think with Guedes, Hwang looks like he's got his shooting boots back on. Strand Larsen, Forbes. I think we've got options in the attacking area, but you're going to feel losing a Cunha. So I still think we can be competitive, and we got that equaliser at Spurs without him. So no, I don't think we're undervaluing him. I think we've still got the quality that can score goals, but you're going to feel not having Cunha in there, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, thank you for being part of the show. Thank you, everyone, for tweeting in their questions on X. I nearly got through all of them. Apologies for running out, and I've promised these two to be off from 9 to watch the darts. I want to watch the darts myself, I'm not going to lie. Wolves play Forest. It's the return of Nuno and our friend Morgan Gibbs-White on Monday evening. Just quickly then, boys, no Cunha. Who comes in for him?
I think you go Guedes and Hwang, don't you?
Yeah.
And Strand Larsen. Any other changes to the team then? Or we're gonna? I think we're pretty much.
I think you keep Doherty, don't you? You keep
the back three.
Doherty, you keep Bueno.
Back three gives you horrors. The back three does give you horrors, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You'd probably want Dawson up against the Chris Wood type, wouldn't you, to have a bit of scrap with him?
Yeah, Dawson, again, is more suited to Chris Wood. As long as, like at Forest, we don't just leave him on the far post to head him into a 1-goal lead, like we did with Souček and other people.
I think, we don't want to end the show on a negative, but the fact that after, 6-7 seasons, these are our options at centre-half, it's unacceptable.
Neglected, for sure.
It's unacceptable.
No doubt about it.
The only thing that gives you confidence is, Forest do have pace and power, but so do Tottenham, so do Leicester with Vardy in a way, and so do Man U with Højlund. So the pace from the opposition doesn't seem to be an issue, but you are nervous about that back three. And I'm with Nocky, what he said earlier, you can get away with it for so long, but it'll be a big test against their front line on Monday.
Chris Wood's a massive worry for me because he's going to peel straight onto Bueno because he knows he's probably the physically. Yeah, but I think he'll go for Bueno because he's physically stronger than him and he'll outmuscle him. Doherty's got a little bit of nous about him where he can physically batter him. Dawson's a big lad, so he's going to be all over Bueno, and I think he's likely to hurt us from that position. So it's a difficult game. I don't think they're superb. I think they are a typical Nuno team.
Very well organised.
Very well organised. Know their job.
Forest now, there are similarities to what Nuno did with Wolves. Tuck it, be good, be organised, hit on the counter. They're very good at that. Gentlemen, let's get your predictions. Tyler, Wolverhampton wins v Nottingham, Forest, Molineux, 8 p.m. Monday evening.
I think we'll get a draw. I think 1-1. And let's go with Channy to keep up his goal scoring
Get
form,
in there.
shall we?
Okay.
Yeah, I was 1-1 as well. So I'll be 1-1, and I think Strand Larsen.
It's really difficult for me because I can't go Cunha 1-0. It's a very difficult time in the podcast for me. So we'll go with, I don't think there'll be a lot of goals. Watch it be a 4-3 classic now, but I'll go with 1-0 and I'll go with Strand Larsen. This has been episode 116 of the Wolves Report. Thank you to Chris, Tyler, Mark Knock. Everybody, Happy New Year. Up the Wolves.